Hello and welcome to Practically Effective. This is a podcast about effects, props and stunts in various films. And this week, you are being welcomed to our second special where we are discussing the various Hulks from various films.
Because there's a new Avengers film coming out soon, so we thought...
Yeah, because Thor Ragnarok has the Hulk in it, quite prominently.
By Avengers, I mean Thor, who is an Avenger.
We couldn't be bothered to do a Thor special because it would have been very boring.
So, you're getting Hulks. You'll take what we give you.
But there might be a Thor reference or two in here, maybe. He turns up in one of them, maybe.
But I mean, he is in the same films.
But I've got a surprise for you. It's very exciting. Thor and Hulk have been in a film before.
Is it called The Avengers?
No, it's not. It's one you'll never have heard of. So, as usual, we have 4 exciting topics to discuss.
We do.
As per usual, they're of varying quality. And yes, should we dive right in, or should we declare what we're going to do first?
Well, let's give them a preview.
Okay, so how do we do this?
You're doing, what is it, the TV show?
The Incredible Hulk TV show from the 70s and 80s.
And The Incredible Hulk from what, 2008, 2007?
Yeah. 8, yeah. And then you were doing, Mr. Wilson, Hulk from 2003.
Yeah.
The greatest outing of the Hulk. And also the Mark Ruffalo Hulk from various Avenging films.
Yeah.
Should we just jump right in? Do a Hulk-sized jump into... Why can the Hulk jump so far?
That's what I was thinking as well. Like, in the Hulk film, he jumps incredibly far.
And he must weigh a ton.
So I get that he's super strong, but surely the ratio of his strength to his weight is about the same as a human.
He's very strong, though.
But he's also very heavy.
He must have incredibly strong legs, or bouncy legs.
Bouncy legs.
I feel that the Hulk isn't going to make much sense. So I feel like, much like these podcasts, we should start at reasonable quality and then deteriorate into just a mess. So would you like to start with probably the best Hulk, the Mark Ruffalo Hulk?
The Avengers one?
Yeah.
Alright, well there's not much to say. Well, there's this picture of, it kept coming up, it's really funny. There's like a Hulk costume, kind of.
Right.
And it's not like that they actually used in the film, it was just for like reference of like where people would be and things like that.
Okay, yeah.
But he's wearing like the top half of his body kind of has a Hulk costume, and there's a picture of Thor like clinging onto his back while he's wearing this weird thing. He's like running around. It's really strange.
So how much of the Hulk did they make of this costume?
It's just like from the shoulders up.
Oh, okay. Because I have seen, like, there's some great big Hulk fists, but I don't know whether they actually use that in filming or not.
The main thing in the filming was motion capture.
Yeah.
And they were able to do it so that the actor would do the motion capture shots alongside the main live action actors. So instead of doing them separately, and then he would do them at the same time with them.
So they did it on set?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So the Hulk, which we'll talk about later, also did motion capture.
Yeah.
But the big difference is basically the technology had matured a lot more.
Yep.
So they were able to, one, do it on set instead of doing it separately.
Mm.
And also, they could capture a lot more like nuanced facial expressions and things like that.
Yeah.
Rather than basically having it look like your face is like a Play-Doh that's being pulled around.
Yeah. So did Mark Ruffalo do most of the motion capture, or did they get people in?
No, it was Mark Ruffalo did the motion capture. They even said they wanted the Hulk to kind of resemble Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
So like they like made like a mold of his face, and kind of when they were making the Hulk model, they kind of put in bits of that.
They put bits of Mark Ruffalo into
Yeah,
Hulk.
they put bits of Mark Ruffalo. So I have a not at all Hulk related anecdote.
I'm ready. Deviate 2 minutes into the episode.
You know Iron Man?
Yeah.
Like fairly regularly throughout the Avengers, he's like eating something. Yeah. Apparently that wasn't scripted, and that was Robert Downey Jr.'s own food that he was eating. And he wasn't. It was just like he happened to be hungry at the time and would just eat while they were filming.
Okay.
And he would hide his food around the set, and nobody could find it, so they just let him do
it. Great job.
And here's an actual Hulk related thing. You know, there's that bit where Loki is like being pounded repeatedly.
Yes, yeah.
That sounds wrong, but
the puny god bit.
Yeah, apparently the way that they got Tom Hiddleston to do a good facial expression for that was they literally just got him and they just shook him really violently.
Method acting.
Yeah.
So they just waved
They
Tom
just
Hiddleston.
waved Tom Hiddleston around.
But who waved Tom Hiddleston around? Was it Mark Ruffalo?
I'm not sure.
Just someone.
Someone.
I reckon it was like an intern.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Like-
your job today is to shake Tom Hiddleston as violently as you can.
I'm trying to think of how much hulking there is in the Avengers.
There's not that. He spends most of the film trying desperately not to turn into the Hulk and largely failing.
Yeah, he
It's
spends
only
most of
really-
all of
it's
these films.
Basically, the aircraft carrier scene
Yeah.
where he turns into the Hulk.
Yep.
That. And then there's a brief bit where he's not the Hulk again. Then they have the final fight where he is the Hulk again.
He's hulking it out.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming quite a bit of that was CGI because he's doing his weird massive jumps. And
Oh yeah, of course.
they didn't strap Mark Ruffalo to the side of a building.
But it's like this was more noticeable for the Hulk rather than the Avengers. But it's really funny when they're doing a scene where they're going to CGI in the Hulk.
Yeah.
And they have to have something some car or whatever flying through the air. It looks like the car just jumps up for no reason, you know?
Yeah.
And then they CGI in the Hulk. But before they CGI in the Hulk, there's just cars moving around and things.
Yeah. I'd love to do that job.
Yeah.
You do everything the Hulk could touch. You make it move. Be a good job. Do you think the Avengers Hulk looks good?
The Avengers Hulk looks alright, yeah.
Yeah, Avengers 2 Hulk?
That's basically the same.
Pretty much the same. Would you like to see post-Avengers, or in the future, another Hulk solo film? Or not?
None of the ones so far have been very good.
No.
The thing is, the Hulk, Bruce Banner can be an interesting character.
Yeah.
But the Hulk isn't.
Well, I think he's an interesting character. I think they just haven't done him any justice in the movies.
How is the Hulk interesting? Not Bruce Banner, just the Hulk.
Well, Bruce Banner is the Hulk. They're
Yeah,
the
that's
same
what I'm
thing.
saying. Bruce
It's-
Banner can be interesting. But if you're going to make it about, oh, I'm smashing man and I smash things, you know.
Yeah, I don't want a movie where he's just the Hulk. I don't know. I think we're going to get that in Ragnarok. He's going to be Hulk most of the time.
Probably.
But, I think it works when you've got another character, because they can bounce off each other. Like another super character. I don't know. I don't know why it doesn't work. I think it's just because both of the movies, The Hulk and The Incredible Hulk, are basically Bruce Banner running away from the army. And then he turns into the Hulk, and then the Hulk runs away from the army. You know The Fugitive?
Yeah.
The movie The Fugitive?
Yeah.
And that's a really good movie. Because Harrison Ford, who is the fugitive, is running away from Tommy Lee Jones, but also he's trying to do something. He's trying to track down the person who actually murdered his wife. So I think in these movies you need to have Bruce Banner
Trying to do something.
like stop a villain or something while he's being chased by everyone. I think that would make it better.
It wouldn't really work so much now that we have the entire Marvel Universe thing and the Hulk is kind of accepted.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Or, I had a weird thought, what you could do with the Hulk is you make General Ross the main character. And you have a movie where he's trying to take down the Hulk, and then slowly over the course of the film he realises he's become the monster he's sworn to destroy.
He's not a bad guy, General Ross.
No, he's not. Objectively.
What would you do if there was someone who just randomly transformed into a monster and started? I would want that person to be caught by the army.
Exactly. Yeah. In the Avengers, do you think the general public are oh, go Iron Man, go Captain America, stop that terrible monster? Or do you think they're yeah, go the Hulk? Because it's in Captain America Civil War, they show there's a bit where General Ross comes in and they show the collateral damage of all the fights. And in the Avengers, it's not like any of the Chitauri that kill someone in the clip. The clip is of the Hulk leaping onto a building and then leaping to another building, and all the debris just crushes some people.
Yeah. I would want him locked up by the army.
I'd feel better about it if he was there with a group of people who could stop him, or who you think he stopped. But then Tony Stark can't stop him. Wait, how does that Hulkbuster fight end?
He uses his Robo Punch.
He
That's
does.
the bit I'm talking about.
Yes. He does a big old Robo Punch.
No, I mean the bit where he,
Yeah, he has a jackhammer fist.
Yeah.
But I can't think what happens right at the end. Because he does that, and then the Hulk spits out a tooth, and Stark is whoopsies.
Oh, he lifts up the Hulk, doesn't he? And they fly off.
Into the sunset together.
They fly off into the sunset together.
But yeah, something like that. I think Tony Stark wins. But at what cost, Will? At what cost?
I'm pretty sure because the next scene is them flying off in their jet.
Oh yeah, and he's got his little blanket.
Yeah.
But then, would the general public know? Like, no, would they know what causes him to turn into the Hulk, or would they just be like, "Oh, he can probably do it at will"?
I don't know. They probably wouldn't know.
Yeah, because at no point does he come on national television and announce it.
It's because I get angry sometimes.
When I get angry, bad things happen. It's the same with you.
Hawkeye versus the Hulk.
You know what I'd like? An amalgam of the two, and we have Hawkeye, and he's a ridiculously strong guy with a massive bow, and he just fires arrows and then pummels them with his fists.
There's that bit in the Avengers 2, I think it's the Avengers 2, where the villain, there's some villain base being attacked by the Avengers right at the beginning, and it's the Avengers 2.
Yep.
And the leader of the base says, "Focus your fire on the weaker ones," and we all know who they're talking about. We all know.
Yep. I reckon the Hulk probably does more damage than all of the other Avengers put together.
Probably does as much damage to the villains, but more damage total because he also kills other people.
So there's a thing that they call the Godzilla threshold, which is like, when is a threat bad enough that it like doesn't matter what you do to stop it, you just have to stop it. And basically, so like Godzilla, if you nuke a city, it's fine because you've got rid of Godzilla, who would destroy way more cities than that one city. So I think the Hulk is like the nuke in that situation, in that you only send him in when the damage that can be done will exceed his damage.
To like, because there's that bit where they're attacking the guys in that tank or whatever.
Yeah.
And the Bruce Banner is just like hanging around the ship waiting to possibly get called in.
Yeah.
So I think they do tend to only call him in particularly bad situations.
Yeah. It seems to cause him a lot of distress though. Like after he's been the Hulk.
Well, he spent most of his life up to that point trying to avoid it.
Yeah. But then I don't fully understand that line at the end of the Avengers when he's like, the way I control it is because I'm always angry.
I think it means he's got some sort of conscious control over it to some extent.
So he can do it at will, essentially.
Yeah. Or like he's always angry, but he somehow is able to suppress that anger. And then when he wants to turn into the Hulk, he can just let it out.
Yeah. But then, as happens in basically all of these Hulk movies, he'll just be going about his day and then something will happen that causes him to turn into the Hulk. Like in the helicarrier.
What if he gets like really triggered or something?
Yeah.
Causes him to
he's on the internet and he gets really offended.
Yeah.
The other thing about all these Bruce Banner characters, all the actors who played him, is none of them seem like the people with a temper. Like, none of them seem to be people who would like fly off the handle if things don't go their way.
But I think that's kind of the point. I think the point is he goes from like some mild-mannered...
But then he just never get angry. He gets frustrated.
Yeah.
But he doesn't turn into the Hulk when he's frustrated. He turns into the Hulk when he's angry. And he doesn't seem like the guy who'd lose his temper. Well, I think, wouldn't it be more interesting if he was like halfway through an experiment that was like making the cure for him, and then there's like a power cut, and then he just gets so mad, and then he hulks out.
I don't really know what you're getting at.
All of these Bruce Banners are all kind of mild-mannered.
Yeah.
Like Clark Kent types.
Yeah.
And you don't... That's not the kind of person who would fly off the handle.
That's the point, though. Or maybe angry isn't the way to point, but any sort of extremely sort of, I guess, violent
or stressful
emotion,
situation.
Yeah. Stress.
Because in The Incredible Hulk, it's not anger so much as it is his heart rate.
More stress, yeah, than outright just anger.
But in that movie, anything that causes his heart rate to go too high will Hulk him out. Because there's a scene where he's going to make love to his lady friend, and his heart rate gets he doesn't turn into the Hulk. He's like, he has like a beeping watch that tells him his heart rate, and it starts beeping. He's like, okay, we should probably stop this before I accidentally murder you. Should we talk about the Incredible Hulk?
Okay.
So the Incredible Hulk, again, yes, they used a lot of motion capture, but it was, as you say, far more primitive than what they appeared to use in the Avengers. They didn't do any of it on set. They did it on the studio, and they put the people in those ridiculous ping pong ball suits. One of the cool things they had was that they had a screen in the room that showed the character doing the motions that the actor was doing as they were doing it. So that helps the actors, I believe. I don't know. Okay, so Tim Roth did some of the. He was the Abomination. There's 2 big Hulks. I got double the Hulk for my buck.
Right.
Tim Roth did some of the mocap for his character, but I don't think Norton did any for his. But so they did that for like the body movements.
Yeah.
And then they did facial capture as well. But you know how they normally have dots all over the faces? For this, and this guy was really proud of it. He thought it was going to be the future. But they got like a phosphorus paint.
Yeah.
And they like sponged it on. So these actors have like glow in the dark faces. And he was like, well, with spots you can put them on the face and you only get 200 or so data points. But with this, you have so many, and the cameras they can focus on a point to the 10th of a millimeter, and that's accuracy and precision for you. He was thrilled. But basically the actor with the glow in the dark face sits in front of like an array of cameras.
Yeah.
And it captures their face from various angles. And then they did Hulk faces.
And with the Avengers one, they kind of did the motion capture and the face capture at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So while he was on the set, they just had some cameras on him, just in general.
Yeah.
And then they had 2 cameras that would adjust his face.
So is it the exact thing that Ruffalo did? Okay. So for the Incredible Hulk, they got all this motion capture, but they didn't use it directly. They used it as a base for the animators. Right. So the animators could actually tweak things if they needed to and make the movements a bit different. It was just a base for them. In the Avengers, did they do that? Or was it like a suit, essentially? They just slapped a CGI suit on him?
I think for the Hulk, it was what you were saying. They used the motion capture. Because they did motion capture with that as well. But it's more primitive, which we'll get onto.
Yeah.
But then for the Avengers, I'm not sure. I think they might have just done it raw. That's what you get.
And there was a whole load of stuff on the designs of these creatures as well. And they went to a ridiculous level of detail in that they'd programmed the skeleton and all the muscles over it, and all the muscles flexed correctly when these creatures moved, and that they had like the simulated blood pumping through the muscles and through the veins, and it's ridiculous. And then they make the fight scene like at night in Harlem, so you can't see all the amazingness that they've created. The mocap people were very much about making sure these 2 creatures had different movements, and you could tell who they were from just their silhouette. So the Hulk would throw his arms up when he jumps, but Abomination, he'd jump with his elbows tucked in, and then you'd know they were different.
No, they were different.
Yep. They were just thrilled to be working on the Hulk.
Did their work pay off?
Okay, so I think most of the time it did. Okay, let me think. I think there's 4 Hulk scenes in that film, right? There's one at the beginning. He's in a dark factory, and it's one where you don't really see the Hulk, but you kind of get the sense of him. Mm. There's one out in the open, in a big grassy area, where he takes on some, like, the army come and get him. That's a really good scene. Just after that, there's a bit in a cave, where he's with his girlfriend being sad, and then there's the final fight at the end. 3 out of 4 of those are in incredibly dark environments. So you cannot appreciate the excellence of the Hulk. The one out on in the middle of the day is brilliant. That's easily the best scene in that movie. Yeah, it seems like they put in more effort than strictly necessary, because they were like, oh, we've even got Tim Roth in, and he's gonna apply some aspects of his character, and we're gonna put them into the movements of the Abomination. And you're like, well, he just looks like a big orange Hulk. They also said it was really difficult to design the Abomination because he has all these bones protruding from him. Where do his muscles go? That he has a spine that kind of spikes out of the back of his...
I'm not sure I've seen The Incredible Hulk. I don't remember anything of what you're saying.
Huh.
I thought I'd seen it.
It's Edward Norton. He's in Brazil at the beginning. He's real sad. Then the army find him.
Because at the end of the Hulk, he's... Well, it's not clear where he is, but it looks like some South American country. It could be Brazil.
Yeah. Well, the script...
So that's just an interesting...
The script for The Incredible Hulk did start off as a sequel to Hulk, even though no one liked it.
Yeah.
You might have seen it a while ago because it's quite forgettable, if I'm honest. I was bored through some of it, which it's weird because that's a theme. Because the Hulk, I've heard, is very boring.
It is.
You've got to be actively trying to make a movie with a massive green punching machine boring.
Well, the director thought he was making some really subtle work of art.
What else? There wasn't much information on it, really. I found a whole load of documentaries, and it was just people who were amazed at what they were doing.
They're so proud.
They are. They're always like, we're doing the best things in the world.
I got that with the Hulk as well.
Yeah. They'd take footage for reference, and there was just a lot of these employees at this company just roaring at the camera. And they did that for Edward Norton as well, because he didn't do the performance for the Hulk, but he sent them a lot of reference footage, and he got heavily into it. He was like, oh, and then the Hulk should fall down this way, and as he brings himself up, you see the pain in his eyes. And he's like, he's broken, but then he gets up and he pulls all his might and he uses the punching and he wins the day.
He uses the punching.
I'm paraphrasing. Do you remember the bit, if you've seen this film? It's in the final fight at the end, and they're flipping all these cars and destroying stuff, and the Hulk takes a police car and he rips it in half and uses it as boxing gloves.
What?
It's so it's just after, like, the Abomination has given him a good punching and thrown him away, and he lands on the road and he does that thing that Spider-Man does a lot, where he's been beaten heavily and then he rallies all his strength.
Yeah.
So he gets up, and instead of taking one of the damaged cars, he takes a perfect
brand new police car.
Yep, and not just a civilian car, the car of the police, the unit who's trying to help them, presumably, and he rips the car in half, right? And he has either side on each fist, and then he rages into Abomination, gives him a right old punching with the car. It's great. It's exactly what I want from a Hulk movie.
Sounds ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It's great though, because Hulk has got to that point and he's just rallied all his strength and he's raining down the punches, the police car punches.
Yeah.
And the car is like disintegrating in his fists, and Abomination is like sinking into the pavement with the power of these fists. And then you cut down to the Abomination and he goes, "Is that all you got?" in like a Ray Winston voice.
Yeah.
And does one kick and the Hulk just goes flying through a building. It's great. In all the interviews with the director, he's talking about how the Hulk isn't a monster, he's an uberhuman. Which I'm fairly sure is a word he invented. But he's like, there's not 1 gram of fat on this man. He's all muscle, and he's lean. He's not like a bodybuilder, he's lean. He can run fast. He can do big jumps. He's an uberhuman. He's the greatest. I love the Hulk. Do you think that the Hulk is the greatest thing a human can be?
No.
No. The point of him, like when he was initially created, is that he's a combination of Frankenstein and Jekyll and Hyde.
Mm.
That was the idea behind him. So he shouldn't be the best human. Captain America is the greatest human. Seriously.
No.
The Wikipedia page for Captain America in the top paragraph is like, Captain America is the greatest thing a human can be. He is the optimum of physical performance and mental capacity. He's so American.
Does it say
the character, not the movie. It did once when I looked at it.
It does not say that.
Yeah, it does. Where is it?
Not.
Come on.
It just says enhanced to the peak of...
Human perfection. There you go. The
Perfection.
peak of human perfection.
That's not as grand as yours.
No, I oversold it, didn't I? My mind has exaggerated it. But still, Captain America is apparently the peak of human perfection, not the Hulk.
Not at all.
So, the villain in this, before he becomes a great big hulking man, they give him like a version of the Captain America super soldier serum.
Yeah.
So that he can go up against the Hulk, which is a terrible idea because he's a thin, gangly man. He's essentially a Marine who's a bit past it.
Steve Rogers was a gangly man.
Yeah, but this doesn't increase his muscle size. He doesn't like grow in size at all. He looks exactly the same. So in the first Avenger, you have to use the serum with these Vita rays, and because they don't know what Vita rays are, they just give him the serum, and essentially it ruins him. But for a bit, he's all right. And there's a bit where he had like outruns. He's running at like 30 or 40 miles an hour, but they did that on set. And they had like a zip line running across the top, which they just tied him to. And there was some kind of counterweight system where they just released the weight and he'd just be pulled at 30 miles an hour. And he was there trying to run. And Like, all the videos I saw is just him, and he's trying to run at 30 miles an hour, and his limbs are just flying everywhere.
How does it look in the final?
In the final thing, it looks amazing, but it took him like 3 hours to get used to the machine. And then basically, they give this guy who has the Captain America serum in him, they give him some Hulk blood, and,
because that's how to turn into the Hulk.
Well, the
Drink
Hulk...
his blood.
No, they didn't drink it. I don't think I've got anything else to tell you. I think we're done on the Incredible Hulk.
Incredible.
Would you like to tell us the delight that is the Hulk? Tell us what happens.
It was such a boring film. I'm not sure I remember much of it. So I think in the Incredible Hulk,
Yes.
and certainly in the Avengers films and things like that, Bruce Banner is a physicist.
Yeah,
he's a
he
nuclear
is.
physicist,
He
and
is.
therefore I can get behind him because he's actually someone who knows what he's doing.
That's why he's exposed to gamma radiation.
In the Hulk, he's just a biologist.
Oh dear. He's a biologist. How did he get
The
exposed to
biologist
gamma
dicking
radiation?
around with gamma radiation because he's a biologist and he doesn't know what he's doing. He thinks that shooting gamma radiation at stuff can help heal it.
It will give you radiation poisoning or heal you of all your ailments.
It's a 50-50 chance. Okay, to be more exact, I think it's they inject something with whatever, and then to activate it, they shoot it with gamma radiation and that's then supposed to heal you.
Yeah.
Even though you're still being shot by gamma radiation.
So, Will, does it work?
It blows up a frog, and it's very funny.
Why were they
now
testing
the
it?
frogs are suffering because of biologists' incompetence. They have this frog, and then it's random bits start growing, and the frog doesn't seem bothered at all. He just sort of sits there like, oh yeah, I'm dying. Whatever.
The biologists got me.
And apparently, for the frog, they didn't even use a real frog.
Right.
They got some fake plastic frog or whatever,
Yep.
and to make it look like it was breathing, they just pumped air in and out. It would have been easier to just use a real frog.
You want them to blow up a real
They
frog?
don't have to blow it up.
Just for the shots,
Yeah.
like it's establishing shots when
Yeah.
it walks in. It's like, what are we doing at work today, boys?
Yeah, like that. His dad
Yep.
basically did exactly the same work as he did.
Oh, really?
coincidentally.
What are the chances?
And so he thinks he's got this serum that helps heal people. But the military's like, no, you can't do human testing, it's too dangerous.
Yep.
So
So
he
we've got
just
it.
injects it in himself.
We've got a Green Goblin situation.
And then he passes that on to his son, who is Bruce Banner.
Yeah. Wait, does it actually heal him?
Well, he's not he doesn't have an injury to heal.
So he just injects it and then never tests it.
I think so. Well, he injected it in himself. Nothing then seems to happen, really. Until the military finds out he tested it on himself
Yeah.
and fire him. And he then sets the base to self-destruct.
I love it when that's an option.
At which point the base emits loads of gamma radiation. But it's not really clear what happens to his dad, at least at that point. He comes back later, but it's really weird. So he passes that on to his Bruce Banner.
Yep.
And then he's dicking about with this gamma radiation machine.
Yep.
His mate is just having a poke around. It accidentally turns it on.
Wouldn't you unplug it before
No,
you...
apparently not. Yeah, the Bruce Banner goes in to try and save him.
Yep.
So he basically stands between. I don't even remember exactly what happens. It might be that he could effectively shield him. I don't remember exactly where people were standing, but he somehow shields his mate from
Remind me how many meters of concrete gamma radiation can go through?
basically all of it.
But Bruce Banner...
Bruce Banner can stop all of it. It's fine. But yeah, you need basically a good solid bit of lead to block gamma radiation.
Yep.
But or Bruce Banner.
As we know, the Hulk is 90% lead.
Yeah. He gets shot with all these gamma rays, which activates the serum or whatever,
Yeah.
and then he becomes the Hulk. Oh yeah, and then his dad,
Yep.
turns out that his dad is the janitor at the lab where he works. So basically, his dad got locked up in an insane asylum by the military.
Not surprised.
Then he got released, and it's not at all made clear why he was released, because they say that he was released, not that he was escaped.
Yep.
And then in this film, the military are still trying to capture him and put him back in the insane asylum. So I don't know what's going on there.
Good.
He has some mutant dogs for some reason.
Obviously. Wait, do they have Hulk serum in them?
Yeah.
Does that mean when they get angry, they Hulk out?
Yeah.
What makes a dog angry? The dog would be like, the postman! And then it would turn into a massive mutant Hulk dog.
So then his dad goes to him and says, like, I am your father. And obviously Bruce Banner doesn't believe him.
Yep.
Then he basically hulks out a bit and runs around and smashes things, whatever. Oh yeah, he rescues his girlfriend from the mutant dogs, from the Hulk dogs, and then his girlfriend gives him into the military because she's so loyal.
What a loving girlfriend. Incredible.
Goes along to the base, gets poked around a bit. Oh yeah, so the guy's plan...
Yep.
Not the general, so the general kind of gets sidelined by this other guy. He pokes Bruce Banner with like a cattle prod type thing.
Yep.
His plan is to get him to turn into the Hulk and then cut a bit off him so he can study it. That is a master plan. With apparently no plan what he's going to do when he turns into the Hulk, because it's literally just him and Bruce Banner, and he's poking him with the cattle prod in a really small room.
That's incredible.
I don't know what his plan was if he did turn into the Hulk. But anyway, he prods him a couple of times and decides that's not going to work. So then he puts him
Bruce
in...
Banner isn't annoyed by being cattle prodded?
Apparently not, no.
Cool.
They put him in that tank of water.
Yep.
They like hook up his brain to like some electrode, and they're like trying to provoke him to be angry. Which they do.
Bruce, your father never loved you.
Basically, yeah, that's the thing.
You're a disappointment.
He bursts out of the water as the Hulk. That's when they try and gas him, but it doesn't work.
Okay.
And then, oh yeah, they have basically like foam guns.
Right.
It's like they shoot foam at him and the foam hardens.
Oh,
It's actually quite a good idea, but it looks really ridiculous.
Is it like bad CGI?
It actually works pretty well.
What? They stopped the Hulk with foam?
Yeah.
With foam?
Foam, yeah. The foam like surrounds him and there's like just his face spearing through.
Yeah.
And then he goes up and he's like trying to like take some of the Hulk's skin or something.
I'll take a sample, yeah.
And then for some reason he doesn't. I don't remember why he doesn't. I think
Hulk.
like the Hulk like starts to break through. But
The
he doesn't
foam
for some
cannot
reason.
hold the Hulk.
Then, oh yeah, he gets a grenade launcher,
Yep.
fires it at the Hulk, and just bounces off. And comes back and hits him.
What? The Hulk is rubber now. That's how he can jump so far.
Yeah.
He just does a big jump and bounces.
Yeah. So then he bursts out of the base.
Yep.
They chase him around. He gets captured again. I don't remember how he gets captured or whatever, but he gets captured. Then he's talking to his dad, and his dad is like, "You and me together, we could rule the world," you know.
He's Darth Vader, is his dad.
Basically. Oh yeah, at some point, because his dad is a janitor in his lab, and so clearly the janitors are allowed access to the super sensitive equipment that they have there. So he goes around and starts playing around with the equipment and turns himself into... Like, when he touches something, he takes on the properties of that.
Oh, that's quite cool.
But he uses that power, like, once, and then it's completely forgotten about.
That's a letdown, because that sounds really cool.
Then, like, the military... Like, he hands himself over to the military in exchange for being able to talk to Bruce. Tries to convince Bruce to join him.
Yeah. My ability to be this chair. We can rule the world.
Then I don't remember what happens after that.
Doesn't
It's so
his
dumb.
father turn into a massive cloud or something?
Oh, yeah.
That's a clip I've seen.
Yeah. I think this is still like... That's supposed to be like a continuation of his I can turn into things I touch power.
What does he touch to be a cloud?
Well, they're like having a fight, and they go underwater, and then his dad is like, "Give me your power."
That's how it works.
The Hulk is just like, "Okay, you can have my power." And then his dad's like, "Yes!" and turns into a cloud. And then the military drop what they call a neutrino bomb on them.
Yep.
But if they knew what they were talking about, they would know that neutrinos barely interact with anything, and therefore probably wouldn't kill much. But there's like millions of neutrinos going through you every second.
Yeah.
And they
So
don't
you'd
do
be
anything.
fine.
You'll be perfectly fine. And that apparently kills both of them. But it probably almost certainly doesn't kill the Hulk. But it might kill the cloud.
So what you're telling me
Yeah.
is that in this movie,
Yeah.
the Hulk defeats his villain. He defeats one villain by bouncing a grenade off him.
Yeah.
And he defeats the other villain by just letting the army blow them both up.
Yes.
Okay. If I was the Hulk's dad and I was having a chat with Bruce Banner, I'd be like, Bruce, get angry, and I'm going to grab your meaty bicep and absorb your hulkiness. Then we're done, and you can go home. Not...
I know, but while they're doing that, the military have some gizmo pointing at them that they're utterly sure will kill the Hulk if he holds out. Which the Hulk's dad then bites a power cable to break it.
I have this very bizarre image in my head of what's going on here.
It's pretty bizarre.
So, is Hulk like a Running Man style amusing movie, or is it just...
Oh, no, it's not like that.
Because
It's just bad.
You've really sold it to me, though. It's got exploding frogs and Hulk trapped in foam.
But there's long moments of tedium between those. It's so boring.
Yeah.
It's really bad. I couldn't pay attention. I couldn't keep my attention focused on it.
Alright, go on. What have we got on effects?
So the director did the motion capture.
What, he was the Hulk?
He himself, yeah. Because he said that he wanted the performance to be such a particular way, he couldn't direct another actor to do it. He had such a clear image in his mind.
Does that mean he's not a very good director?
It means he's not a very good director, yeah. But
I can't direct.
They used his motion capture as like the basis for animation.
Okay.
And it was really basic technology, so they didn't have good subtle facial capture. And so that's why the Hulk looks like a giant baby in this film.
So did they attempt to capture the face? Or...
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But that's not very good. But again, they're like what you were saying, they went on a lot about we have all these different layers of muscles and skins and they all go over each other and we have a skeleton, blah blah blah. And they've really put a lot of effort into it, but just not enough. So it still looks pretty bad.
Did it look good for the time?
So it won an award, which was cool for... It was one of those satirical awards.
Yeah.
The award title was least special effects or something.
So no then.
So no.
Well, this came out after Gollum, didn't it? And Gollum looks
Gollum looks really good. Oh yeah, apparently the director's wife was a microbiologist, and apparently some of the work that you see lying around is stuff that she's done.
You just nicked it from her study. They
do this really stupid thing where they split the screen up into 2 or 3 bits.
Yes.
And it's really I don't know what am I supposed to be looking at? I can't watch the 3 things at the same time. What do you want me to look at here?
I've heard about this. Wasn't he trying to make
He was trying to make it look like a comic book.
Yeah.
That's what he was going for. It's just really ineffective.
Did no one tell him that that's not the point of movies?
Yeah, I don't know.
If people wanted to, they just read a comic book.
Oh yeah, so in this, the angrier he gets, the bigger he gets.
What?
So they had to make 3 Hulks of different sizes.
The angrier he gets.
The angrier he gets, the bigger he gets.
The bigger he gets.
Yeah.
How big does he get?
I think I vaguely recall something was 9 feet, 12 feet, and 15 feet. I think.
Norton Hulk is 9 feet tall.
Little baby.
Yeah. They cited the Ang Lee movie, and they're the Hulk is so big that humans look basically nothing to him. We want him to be a height where you could interact with
There is a
person.
bit where he's in a relatively normal sized corridor.
Yeah.
I think it's the first time he turns into the Hulk.
Yeah.
And he's not bursting through the ceiling and things.
Okay.
He's kind of squashed in a bit. But he can get into a relatively normalish sized corridor.
That's how you defeat the Hulk. Small spaces.
Yeah. I've always wondered, what if he was inside a small container and then turned into the Hulk? What would happen?
You just put him in a sarcophagus.
Yeah.
Cool.
One of the actors who they tested for the role of Bruce Banner was Jeff Goldblum.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yes, please.
I want that to happen.
Oh, he's in the Thor Ragnarok, isn't he?
He is.
You don't want to make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. Just Jeff Goldblum doing the Hulk roars.
Yeah. There is a bit where, I mentioned a little bit before where it looks really weird when they do the shots where they're going to CGI the Hulk in.
Yes.
There's a bit where the Hulk picks up his girlfriend and puts her on top of a car or something, I don't remember. But there's a bit, basically, they had to just lift his girlfriend up with a crane and she has to gaze longingly up where the Hulk's eyes are gonna be.
How angry was he at that point? Was he 15 feet of angry?
He was not very angry, but that's just after the bit where he fights the Hulk dogs. His dad sends his Hulk dogs after his girlfriend.
Why? To make him angry?
Oh yeah, that is actually it. He wants him to turn into the Hulk.
Okay.
Apparently, for the Hulk dog fight,
Yep.
they put little motion capture suits on the dogs.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing.
Little doggos in motion capture suits.
Did they get their dog facial expressions?
Yeah.
Hang on, that means his dad must have been able to replicate the hulking process in order to make Hulk dogs.
Well, he has his doggos with him in the laboratory. You see him with the janitor, like wandering around with his dog.
Because it means he must have been able to successfully Hulkify his dogs, but not himself. Is it weird that in a lot of these movies, people looking at the Hulk and they're like Bruce Banner, who has a horrible life in existence, desperately trying to not be the Hulk, and everyone looks at him and is like, Hulk. No, I quite fancy being the Hulk. I'll take that power, thank you, Mr. the Hulk.
Well, I think that's the thing they're trying to be like, oh, Bruce Banner has the power to like smash cities and things, but he doesn't want to do it, isn't he? Noble.
It's his curse. Yeah. It's a Marvel trope of like, oh, this character has an Iron Man suit, we should weaponize it. Or this character is the Hulk, we should weaponize it. Or an Ant-Man suit, let's weaponize that. Let's weaponize everything.
Also, apparently, the thing that they use to bombard gamma rays onto stuff,
Yeah.
like you don't really need anything special to do that.
You need something that emits gamma
You
rays.
just need they could do that in like undergraduate physics labs. It's like really basic.
Yeah.
But they have this really fancy thing to do it as if it's some really difficult thing. They're biologists, so to them it probably is difficult.
It's a great
It's actually
feat.
really simple. So they have this really fancy doodad to do it.
Yep.
And the thing that they based that off
Yeah.
is a real scientific instrument, but instead they basically use it to detect gamma rays, which is like the opposite of what it does in the film.
Yeah.
Okay, so shall we talk about the director and his...
I
And I have one other little fact
Go
first.
for it.
So, the guy who plays the general,
Yep.
Sam Elliott,
Mhm.
so his character has a patch from an army division, which was the 7th Cavalry Division.
Yeah.
And the guy that he plays in the film We Were Soldiers is in that same division. So that's a fun
That's
fact.
pretty cool. Do you find, because I get quite a few of my bits from IMDb, do you find there's some really terrible, tenuous facts on there?
Like what?
So there's a bit where Hulk, he's in the cave with his girlfriend, and there's thunder and lightning outside, and he goes outside and he goes, "Rah, I'm the Hulk." And then in the trivia it said, Hulk shouts at the lightning, a reference to Hulk 2003, where his dad became a cloud.
That's what?
I don't know.
Oh, this is a good fact. So when they were filming in San Francisco,
Yeah.
there were some University of California, Berkeley students who would systematically urinate in nearby porta potties to create noise to disrupt the filming.
Why?
I don't know, but apparently they interrupted filming for like 2 hours.
They must be so hydrated. That's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, this was weird.
Go on.
So because they did the motion capture separately on a stage instead of on set,
Yeah.
they had like a cardboard cutout of the Hulk, which they'd move around to show people where they'd be.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find out why, but for some reason he was nicknamed Elvis Presley on a stick. I don't know why.
Does the Hulk bear any resemblance to Elvis Presley?
No.
Does the Hulk have Elvis Presley hair?
No.
Does he sing Jailhouse Rock at any
No.
point?
He does not.
So I have so many questions. Okay, one day we hope that this podcast will be good enough for us to be able to interview people who actually worked on these shows, on
Then we
these
can
movies.
ask them.
That is
Why
the
did you
first
name
question I
Elvis
have.
Presley on a stick.
Yeah. We're not going to ask them sensible questions. How did you choose from the thousands of Hulk designs there are in comics? Why did you settle on this one? No.
No.
We will ask.
Elvis Presley on a stick, why? And then I also have comments about the choice of military hardware, but that's just because...
What military hardware did they choose?
Like, they have a helicopter in it,
Yep.
but the helicopter they have was never put into service. They built like 2 of them. It was like a prototype project. They built 2 and then scrapped it.
Okay.
And they also send F-22s to attack the Hulk, even though F-22s are an air superiority fighter. Not a ground... They can do ground attack, but it's like the worst choice. Also, F-22s weren't even in service at the time the film was made. It was like 2 years away.
Well done, everyone. So you were saying the director?
And also the actor who played Bruce Banner's father kind of got in on this as well.
Yeah. All right.
But the director said that he wanted it to be like a Greek tragedy.
Was it, Will? Did he match that?
No,
The ambition?
he did not.
I think some Greek tragedies are very boring.
I mean, that's true. And apparently, like, the actor who played Bruce Banner's father, he would, like, try and make, like, really symbolic connections with, like, the things he was doing. And he would, like, quote poetry about various things. They'd, like, apparently him and the director would spend hours discussing, like, what the film meant. Things like that,
really?
Deeper meanings. He must have spent too long quoting poetry, because during the scene where he's doing the showdown with Bruce Banner, the actor lost his voice.
No! Is that all of your Hulk?
Mm.
Well, would you like me to tell you about the 1970s and 80s Incredible
Please
Hulk
do.
TV show? What a story I have to tell. I'm going to tell you, I'll give you a brief overview of the TV show, and then I want to tell you about the first TV movie that happened after the show was cancelled,
Right, okay.
which is called The Return of the Incredible Hulk, or The Incredible Hulk Returns. I think it's that, actually. And it's amazing.
Right.
So, at some point, a production company, the name of which I do not remember, gained the rights to several Marvel characters. And they called up a producer called Kenneth Johnson. And they said, Mr. Johnson, we would like you to make one of these properties. And he said, no. In fact, he really desperately didn't like comic books. But then he was reading a great French novel, Les Miserables.
Yeah.
And he
clear resemblance to the Hulk.
And he realised that the story of the Hulk was truly a Greek tragedy. He realised that the story of Bruce Banner was much like Javert, a man fleeing for his life from the authorities, and who also turns into a massive grey monster.
Steals some bread.
Yep. He called them back and he was like, yes, I will do your Hulk show as long as I can do it my way and we don't have to do any of that comic booky nonsense.
Joe Biden before.
You're doing the audio description. So he made a lot of changes from the original source material. He changed the name of Bruce Banner to David Banner.
Because
he didn't like the alliterative names. Because that's like a Stan Lee thing. He like Peter Parker, Sue Storm, J. Jonah Jameson. And he was like, it sounds too comic booky. But yeah, so his name was David Banner. None of the other comics characters appeared. So there was no General Ross. There was no Betty Ross. There was no one, basically. Instead of being a physicist, he was a medical researcher.
That's not as bad as a biologist. That's fine. I'm fine with that.
Good. He was basically a doctor because it gave him more of an in to help people out when he was on the road. He was irradiated during a lab accident, like a low-key lab accident.
A low-key lab accident.
Yes, Loki rocked up threw gamma radiation at him instead of like atomic testing, which I think was what it was in the comics. And this is bizarre. He wanted the Hulk to be red.
Okay.
Because it's the colour of anger.
It's the colour of communism.
But yeah, Stan Lee was like, nope, none of that nonsense, mate. Yes, so he made all these changes, and basically the show would go thusly. Banner was desperately looking for a cure, and he'd go on the road. He'd rock up in a town, he'd get a job to pay his way. He'd meet a lady, generally, and he'd have a fleeting romantic interest with this lady, and then a problem would arise, and he would... he never wanted to turn into the Hulk. It was always like he's in a bar and some guys come into the bar and they're big tough guys and they're like, hey, give us some of your money, bar. And then he'd be like, no, stop with your nonsense. And they'd be like, hey, get out of the way, mister. And they'd throw him behind the bar. And then he'd Hulk out and the Hulk would just pop up behind the bar.
Would nobody figure it out?
No. But also he like took on various aliases because in the pilot, David Banner died or presumed dead, so he keeps up the ruse that he's dead.
He calls himself Bruce.
Don't be ridiculous. His name is always David, and his surname always starts with B, so that people don't get confused. But yeah, apparently the show was really successful and everyone really liked it. And let me think, what else can I tell you? Oh, they wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger for the Hulk, but he was too short. Then they got Richard Kiel, the guy who played Jaws in the Bond movies, who's a very tall man, but he has zero muscles in his entire body. He's just a big lanky man. And they painted him green and he did some Hulk stuff. And he just looked ridiculous. So they settled on a man called Lou Ferrigno. And he was a bodybuilder who worked on Pumping Iron, which is that movie that made Arnold Schwarzenegger a big deal. I want to tell you about the incredible special effects of this show.
Yeah.
The basic effects of the Hulk. Well, they took them. So one cool thing they did was that just before Bill Bixby or Bruce Banner hulked out, his eyes would go this green. No, they wouldn't. They'd go like an electric greeny white color, which they did by shoving contact lenses in his eyes. And then the Hulk had that color of eyes the whole time, and apparently the lenses were incredibly painful. And Lou had to take them out every 15 minutes just because they burned into his skull. So yes, the incredible special effects of the Hulk were they hunted everywhere for green makeup.
Nice.
But apparently it's very hard to come
It's
by.
like the green smoke for
Yes.
the Spider-Man.
Why is green the hard colour
Green
to
is
do?
a difficult colour.
They settled on some makeup which was basically just grease paint, which meant that it rubbed off like on everything. And between every shot, makeup people would have to come in and repaint him. They had to apply his makeup in a refrigerated motorhome because if he sweated, it would all come off. And they did a scene at the beginning of series 2 in the desert, and because it was so hot, he was sweating, and the grease paint was separating into blue and yellow. So he was this blue and yellow stripy Hulk. So before every scene, makeup people would come in and just like rub it all back together.
So in this, the Hulk was just a guy painted green.
It was just a big, muscly man, yes. The effects aren't amazing. And there's a lot of he'll like punch some sugar glass, or he'll throw someone into like a bar and it'll be made of like balsa wood and they'll fly through it. There's another thing. The Hulk never hits anyone in this show. He never punches them. There's a lot of him grabbing people by the scruff of the neck and just throwing them. And yeah, as I said, they ditched all the comic book characters. And instead, it was kind of a revolving cast because he kept, at the end of every episode, he'd be like, oh no, I've made a mess of this place. I'll leave. And then, like, as the credits came up, it'd be him trying to get a ride, like hitchhiking. And they'd play this like really sad piece of piano music.
That's like...
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, but there was another main character whose name was Jack McGee, and he was an investigative reporter, see? And he believed in the Hulk, and he was trying to expose this monster for what it was.
One of those hats.
Yes, he did. And yes, and basically it was the producer just wanted to make a drama, basically, and it just happened to have the Hulk in it. And the show was cancelled after 5 seasons. So it came back, Will.
Oh, God.
In The Incredible Hulk Returns for a 2-hour TV movie.
I'm sure that was the best.
It was the best decision anyone has ever made. I would now like, Will, to tell you the story of The Incredible Hulk Returns.
All right.
So, David Banner. So he's been living for 2 years, and he's settled down and he has a lady friend. But obviously he's not calling himself David Banner. He has an amazing alias. He is going by the name of David Banyan.
No one will figure that out.
Yep. Dr. David Banyan. No relation to Dr. David Banner. So he has been part of a team at this medical research place, and they've invented the gamma transponder, which sounds very cool.
How does he get people to believe he's a doctor when all his qualifications presumably say Bruce Banner?
I have no idea. I presume he doesn't. He just goes in and does a science.
He just demands, I'm a doctor.
Don't make me angry. Basically, the first 20 minutes was all exposition. So, like, the first thing was like, oh, David, I'm so glad that I found you and that we're in love. And David is like, yes, I am glad too, but there's a monster inside me. And then he goes to the lab and they're like, wow, David, you did great work on the gamma transponder. I do hope you'll present it to the press tomorrow in the big event that we're having. And David's like, no, I don't think I will. And then the guy's like, well, that's you, David. That's you all over. You don't like being in front and you don't want to take the credit for anything. You're such a shy man. And then there's some more exposition. Oh yeah, no, they get to the press thing.
Yeah.
And there's like, the guy unveils it. And like, this is the gamma transponder, and these are the men who made it. And then, I'm not kidding, there's 20 seconds of just journalists clapping. So then, Bruce Banner, David Banner, the Hulk.
David Banyan.
David Banyan. He's back at the lab late at night, and it's revealed that this machine that he's invented also has in it another machine, and he believes it will cure him of his Hulk curse. So he's setting up the machine. It's very dramatic. He sits down on the machine. The big sphere comes down and is about to zap him. And someone sneakies into the lab. And this guy turns off the machine. And he's like, "You're David Banner, aren't you?" And Banner's like, "How did you know?" This is like a young guy, probably in his 20s. He's kind of a scrawny kid.
Yeah.
He's like, "Dr. Banner, I was under you when you were a teacher teaching, and you were a special guest at my school, and you came and I was so inspired in science and stuff, and now I'm a doctor too." And Banner's like, "Thank you, but you've just interrupted my very delicate experiment." And then the kid's like, "Well, I have a story to tell, and I don't think anyone will believe it but you." He doesn't know that Banner's the Hulk. He also presumably thought that Banner was dead before this, but managed to track him down. Anyway, so Donald Blake tells us an amazing, very expositional story about how he was the medic on this team of this expedition up a mountain somewhere. And when everyone else was asleep, he went and did some more exploring because he felt it was the right thing to do. And then he found a cave that was full of Viking relics, and he could read the runes even though he'd never known how to learn runes.
Good job.
And the runes said, "This is the tomb of Thor." So like any reasonable person, he obviously like tore open the coffin and stole his hammer.
Yeah.
And now, Will, whenever he holds up the hammer, he can summon Thor. And Banner's like, "No, that's ridiculous. I assume that because you're at high altitudes you were hallucinating." But then my favourite line in the movie comes. Alright, so Blake says, he's like, he does the "I'm not crazy" speech.
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, this is all the truth. I know what I saw. And when I took the hammer and I held it out, Thor came and stood before me. And he is ready and willing to do whatever I will, as long as it's legal."
What?
Yeah. I want to know how he found that out. He was
Asked
like,
him to do something illegal.
"Thor, nick that guy's car." And Thor was like, "No."
No.
So, Branagh still doesn't believe him. So he pulls out the hammer and he says the words that you'd expect a man to say if he was summoning Thor.
Abracadabra.
He holds up the hammer and he shouts for the name of the man he seeks, Odin. So he holds it up, he shouts, "Odin!" And then Thor appears before them. So, as like a separate guy, he doesn't turn into Thor. So he summons Thor, and Thor is very confused because they're in a lab. Thor is a complete jerk in this first scene. He's like, "I demand a drink!" And he goes over to like a computer bay panel thing, and he just rips the front of it.
What?
Oh yeah, and then he's like, "Oh, you must be Banner. I have heard much of your mental wit and greatness." And then, I can't remember why, he still wants a drink. He shoves Banner into this computer panel and he gets electrocuted.
What?
So,
Why?
because they needed a plot device to turn him into the Hulk so they could have a fight. So
But why did he push him into the computer bay?
it makes, in the scene, Thor just walks up to him and shoves him aside. I don't know why. So he crashes into the computer bay, he hulks out, and they have, Will, a spectacular fight.
Of course.
Thor throws a hammer. You know in the movies how he throws his hammer and then he can get it back. In this, he throws his hammer and it just hits the Hulk and just falls to the floor. It's really pathetic. Yeah, Thor's powers in this, essentially, are he has a large hammer.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand anything. And something about electricity. No, so when he appears, like lots of lightning crackles about. And sometimes if the hammer hits something, it crackles a bit. But it's more like a static electricity than a bolt of lightning. So yeah, he doesn't have much. He's quite strong as well. But yeah, they have a fight. There's a good bit where someone throws someone else through a window. And then they hear sirens in the distance, so the Hulk runs away. Oh yeah, Bruce Banner hasn't hulked out for 2 years as well. And then he's like, it's ruined by Thor just shoving him
into a computer.
Yeah. So yeah, Banner's like hiding in the streets to avoid the cops. It's the next day now, and Thor just rocks up in like plain clothes, but Viking plain clothes, and he takes Banner back to Donald Blake, and Thor makes a really big thing about how he knew he could find Banner. And he's like, I told you I would find Banner. I told you I would sniff him out. As if that's a power that Thor has.
The ability to find the Hulk.
Yes. Blake's like, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry you had a Hulk. I didn't know that was something you could do. And he was like, I should probably just leave. And then Banner's like, no, the plot requires that you stay. Where he's like, I'm fed up of people making mistakes and then running away, even though that's what I did in my TV show for 5 seasons. You're staying and you're getting a job at the lab and you're going to help repair the damage you did to the transponder. So, they do that. Oh, the journalist guy from the TV show comes in, but he doesn't really do anything. Yeah, Banner's like, you need to learn to control this Thor guy that you have. Even though I have no way of controlling my hulking problem. You should speak to him. And then there's like the only scene in the whole thing with any character development where Blake talks to Thor, and Thor is like, look, I've been banished from Valhalla. I'm less than a spirit. I have nothing. You're like pulling me in and out of existence. All I want is just like to eat, to drink, to have a bit of fun, to enjoy myself instead of being in this limbo. And Blake's like, oh, I'm sorry, Thor. Even though I didn't get to ask you any of the questions I was going to ask you, you just went on like a sad rant. But anyway, and then they went to a biker bar. And I think Thor beat some people. No, they had a great time. That's what happened. And Thor threw a guy over a pool table or something because he was being rowdy. And it's like a really long sequence of them in this bar, and Thor's just having a great time. Also, Thor can drink loads and not get drunk. That's one of his powers.
Yeah.
So, meanwhile, some people are hatching a scheme. Some dastardly villains, well, because this didn't have enough plots going already, have a plan to break in and steal the gamma transponder and kidnap Banner because he's Banyan, because he's the only one who knows how this strange contraption works. So Banner's there in the thing late at night, and these fiends come, and then the thing that always happens in that they grab Banner, and he's like, "No, stop!" And they shove him behind like the security desk.
They shove him into a computer.
They shove him behind the security desk, and he hulks out. The hulking transition, by the way, like it starts with the actor had these white contact lenses in, and then you just get lots of shots of like different bits of Lou Ferrigno.
His clothes fall.
And they rip. He like flexes, and then they rip, and then the back tears down the middle, and then his shoe will like just rip off his foot inexplicably. And then he always does like a big stand up and goes, "Rawr!" Yeah, that scene basically is a nothing scene. It's just another reason for the Hulk to show up and punch some people. They all run away. There's like 3 guys running away into the back of a lorry. And one of them just trips over on his run there. And then the Hulk picks him up as the lorry's driving off and throws him into the back of the lorry. Then the villains decide that, well, they're never going to get the transponder with this strange creature protecting it.
Have they still not figured out that
David
Banyan from the Hulk?
Nope. So they decide we'll kidnap Banyan's lady friend from her
house.
How did you know? Yeah, from her beachside house. And then we'll call Banner with the ransom. Right? Genius plan. So then the best set piece in the whole movie happens.
Nice.
Right? So Banner and his lady friend are at the house, and Donald Blake is about to arrive, conveniently, just as the villains storm in on a helicopter. They land on the beach. They all leap out with trank guns. They trank Mrs. Banner, and they like shoot some trankings at Bruce Banner. He hulks out just as Donald Blake runs around the corner. He summons Thor by shouting Odin. And Thor rocks up, and I'm just going to tell you some of the incredible things that happen in this fight sequence. So the first thing Thor does when he summons is there are 3 guys running along past a hedge, and Thor just runs into all of them, and they all fall into this hedge. They're all shooting at the Hulk, and he's having none of it. So he rips the top off a table and kind of hides behind it. He's a massive 9-foot tall hulking man, but they're shooting at him, so he hides behind a little table. All the SWAT guys storm in and they steal his girlfriend. And there's one guy who's right next to the helicopter with the massive trank gun. Yeah. He fires a trank at the Hulk, and then it cuts back to him, and he just does this really weird laugh. He's like,
something Green Goblin.
Yeah, it's very odd. And then in the climax of the scene, the Thor and the Hulk, they both like grab onto the skids of the helicopter.
Yeah.
As the helicopters, instead of taking off, they fly horizontally out over the sea, and then they both just fall off. And then they return to the shore, and Thor is like, "Fear not, friend, we will find Banyan's woman." So then... As you're probably breathless after that intense action sequence. They sit down in the house. Banner is back to being Banner.
Banyan.
They get a phone call from the villains. Who are like, you have 24 hours to disassemble the machine and to bring it to us, and also bring yourself to us, and then we'll let your lady friend go. So they go to the lab, and he takes out a vital component, which is clearly just, it's like a circuit board about this big, about the size of a £10 note, because audio content. And it's just got like LEDs and little microprocessors on it. And he's like, this is the brain of the machine. And then he just puts it in a microwave. So then they go to the place where the villains are all holed up. Thor and the Hulk, they have another intense action scene. Thor throws his hammer at someone's car, which like bounces off the bumper, but the driver is so astounded that he rolls the car. Yeah, there's just a big old fight. They throw lots of people around. People get hit with hammers, you know, all the classic stuff. And then at the end, they save the day. Banner's lady is released. And then Thor and Hulk just run in slow motion down the road together. And I'm like, oh, that's going to be the ending. There's going to be like a freeze frame ending. Yeah. But they didn't. It keeps going. Basically, then there's like a 10-minute... You know how at the end of the Lord of the Rings Return of the King, they like say goodbye to every character? They do this.
Okay.
So they go back to the beach house, and Blake is like, well, this sure has been an adventure, but I'm going to go now. Or no, they say goodbye to Thor because he returns like to the sky, wherever he comes from. And then Blake is like, well, I'm sure going to go and do other things now. And he gets in his car and drives off. And then there's like this really romantic moment at the end with Banyan and his lady friend. And they're sat by the campfire and they're like, oh, thank goodness. The day is saved. We can finally be together. And then it cuts to like 6 a.m. the next morning. Yeah. And Banner's just walking down the beach doing his classic like hitchhiking thing. And the lady's like, oh, there's nothing I can do. This is how he is. Or the dog like barks and she's like, don't worry, dog. This was always going to end this way. And the sad theme plays. Yeah. And that's the end. And that is the amazing...
The best film.
The incredible plot. Yeah. Basically, it was a backdoor pilot. Because they wanted to make a Thor TV show. Which never got picked up. But there's another one of these called The Trial of the Incredible Hulk.
Right.
Which has the Hulk teaming up with Daredevil. Which sounds amazing and I'm desperate to watch. I'd like to share that experience with you, Will.
Okay.
Yeah, there we are. I think that's the final story of the first time Thor and Hulk teamed up. Any questions? Or did I explain it incredibly easily?
I think you explained it more than enough to get a good handle on it.
It is the Running Man level of amazingness.
Amazing.
We did it. Alright, should we wrap up?
I have one more point that I want to make.
Oh, go for it.
Which I was thinking about. And it makes me very angry.
Well, I wouldn't like you when you're angry.
So apparently, in the Hulk, okay, the actor who played Bruce Banner, his name was Eric Banner.
Yeah, Banner. Yeah.
Banner, yeah, which is a bit weird, but anyway. So apparently he was in quite good physical shape.
Right.
So they deliberately gave him sort of unflattering clothes that they described them as being nerdy clothes to make him look unflattering. I guess because the idea of a scientist who is also in good physical shape is just so unthinkable.
That's ridiculous.
To these people, I know. And it's like a repeating thing. Name one scientist in films who is also not depicted as being either socially incompetent or physically inept. Or usually both.
That's a really good point.
Exactly.
Even like, I'm trying to think of famous scientists like Doc Brown or your Mark Ruffalo Hulk or your Edward Norton Hulk or your Eric Banner. Sorry, Will.
I know.
As we know, you are a toned, muscular man.
Yeah.
You have the physique of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
The physique of a Greek god.
Alright, we should write a show. It's called Muscly Scientists. And it's just about people who do science, and at the end of the day, they go to the gym.
Yeah. Get Jennifer Lawrence involved somehow.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. All female scientists are really attractive.
Yeah.
We have to buck that trend as well. Muscled and ugly scientists. Alright, how do we wrap up these episodes?
Jennifer Lawrence.
We do... They all have a fight, don't we? Remember?
Oh yeah. But they're all the Hulk. Yes. The TV Hulk would lose because he's just a painted man.
Okay, we put them all in the desert.
Right.
So you've got a painted muscly man.
Yeah.
If we're doing Ang Lee Hulk, we've got to make him 15-foot tall Hulk.
Yeah.
So we've got a 15-foot tall giant hulking man.
He looks like a baby.
And is rubbery.
Yeah.
So anyone who punches him will just bounce off.
Yeah.
We've got Edward Norton Hulk, who's 9 feet tall,
Mm.
and he doesn't do much massive jumping, actually. He's got a good punch on him, though.
The Ang Lee Hulk can just jump at like 2 miles in the air.
Then the Ruffalo Hulk, he's got a good jump on him as well. Which one do you think is the most ripped? Because the Ang Lee Hulk is the biggest, but he looks like Play-Doh. So
Yeah. The one from the Avengers, probably.
yeah, I reckon. So I think, as happened in our Moonraker special, they would all notice the weakest and just kill him first.
The painted band from the TV series would just die straight away.
So, okay, they all appear in the desert, and Lou Ferrigno's paint starts like melting. And they're like, this one is blue and green. Destroy! And then all the Hulks pummel him into a paste. And he's killed immediately. There is... I saw a gif of this right, from the Hulk TV show. So, it's painted green Hulk, and there's like a bear ambling towards him. He's in the forest somewhere in Canada, presumably. And he just picks up the bear and throws it into a lake. So he put up a bit of a fight, but he's still going to die. Oh, dear. So you've got the 3 of them left. They're having a little sit down.
Yeah.
They need a rest. Okay, what's the biggest feat of strength that the Ang Lee Hulk does?
Biggest feat of
strength. Does he lift a big thing or something? Because then we see if we can work out who the strongest is.
He picks up the Gamma Sphere.
Yep.
That seems to provide him some difficulty, though. Like, he needs to put it on his back and things.
Okay.
To carry it around.
So Norton Hulk flips a Humvee, but I don't.
Oh, that reminds me. The Ang Lee Hulk does pick up a tank.
Okay.
Like a full-size battle tank.
Yes. So around. Norton Hulk picks up a Humvee and slams it around a bit, but I don't think he lifts anything major. He also, at the end, the helicopter with his girlfriend in crashes on the roof of a building, and fuel spills out and catches on fire. And the Hulk spies this, and to put out the fire, he does a big clap, and the air from his big clap puts out the fire.
Amazing.
So he has that in his skills and abilities. I think Ang Lee Hulk is stronger than Norton Hulk.
I think so, from what you've said. Yeah.
But then Ruffalo Hulk, what does he do? What does he lift and punch and throw? He holds up the Hulkbuster armor at one point. Doesn't he also swing around that lift? But that's not that heavy, is it? No, Tony Stark does that, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Someone swings a lift.
Tony Stark and the Hulkbuster armor.
Just for fun, let's throw the Hulkbuster into this fight.
Okay.
No, okay, well, so all the Hulks battle, and then the winner of the Hulk battle fights the Hulkbuster.
Right, okay. Ang Lee Strong seems stronger than Norton Hulk.
Yeah.
But not by much, really.
I think... Okay, Norton Hulk gets tired faster as well.
Hmm.
I think Ruffalo Hulk can go for longer than him in a brawl. So I think Norton Hulk should be out. Who's going to win in Ruffalo versus Ang Lee? So does he get shot with a tank? Does that annoy him?
He gets shot by a tank, but it doesn't really do anything.
Because Ruffalo Hulk, in the Avengers, there's the Chitauri all bearing down on him, and that seems to annoy him.
Hmm.
And it seems to stop him for a bit. Like bullets seem to do something to him.
Yeah.
More than he notices them. He just he actually feels some pain. We can't have a 15-foot Ang Lee Hulk being the winner.
He gets shot by an air-to-ground missile and survives as well.
And a nuke.
Oh yeah, a nuke. What is presumably supposed to be more destructive than a nuke. Yeah.
A mega nuke. Yeah, we're giving it to Ang Lee Hulk. What a letdown.
What a letdown.
Then Tony Stark will come in and
just punch him with the pneumatic fist.
Yeah, he would. But his weird bouncy skin would absorb all the hits.
He looks like a giant baby made out of Play-Doh. That's what the Ang Lee Hulk looks like.
Yeah, Tony Stark would destroy him.
Yeah. The best section. We have to put him in
every movie.
Yeah. Even though I've never seen the TV show.
Alright, we'll put her in the TV movie. There's only one woman in it.
We've established gender flipping the characters is allowed.
She can be the journalist who's tracking him down. Jack McGee.
I don't know. Is he really annoying though?
No. He's actually pretty good.
I've never seen it, so I have to trust you. He does sound like the best character. The name like Jack McGee has got to be pretty good.
Yeah. You go Hulk, and then I'll...
With the Hulk.
I don't remember any female characters except for Mrs. the Hulk.
No, not being her.
Does he have a mother? If we get a lot of Bruce Banner's father, does he have a mother?
Yes, but she kind of just disappears.
Oh, great.
Oh no, I think his father killed his mother.
Oh, okay, cool.
So yeah. No, the general.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
She could be the general in all of these, though. She could be general in Incredible Hulk, and she could be the
Yes.
general in like the MCU.
The Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
That general is now Jennifer Lawrence.
General Lawrence.
General Lawrence.
Yes,
That's amazing.
that's way better than what I said. We did it.
That'd be amazing. I want that to happen. They need to do that.
Hashtag General Lawrence. There you go. There's our weekly hashtag that no one will do anything with. Not that we have a weekly hashtag or are even weekly.
We do now.
I think we're there. I think we did
I
it.
think we're done.
Yeah. Hooray.
What's our next episode?
And no one got angry. Death Race.
Death Race.
Our first viewer request.
Yeah.
And by viewer, I mean listener.
Yeah.
Because we're audio content.
Outro?
Do you want the listings? Or
No,
do you have them down pat?
I have them in my head.
Awesome.
Probably.
Good man. Oh, yeah, we should probably...
No, okay.
Sorry.
I was about to launch off.
I just wanted to quickly apologise for the lateness of our last episode.
Yeah, this was entirely Joe's fault.
We had a number of technical issues.
Joe's USB didn't work.
Yeah, it's entirely my fault. Yeah, but we solved the problem. The episode is now up. Enjoy, please. No one's listened to it yet.
No one's listened to it yet, that's true.
Sorry, anyway, continue.
Sorry.
Please,
Launch my
Will.
intro.
Tell us everything.
Thank you for listening to Practically Effective. You can find us on Facebook called Practically Effective. We are on Twitter at PracticallyFX. We have an email, practicallyeffective@gmail.com, and you can listen to us on SoundCloud and iTunes and YouTube.
Fantastic.